Hey guys, Deadly Groove here, and I got the Nintendo 64 sitting in front of us with the Ultra Everdrive 64 version 3 sitting in the cartridge slot. And sitting inside the cartridge there is a 32 gig SD card with a good majority of the ROMs on there that I enjoy playing. You can fit the entire library on there, as that's not a problem. But I only have the games on there that I enjoy playing. So let's see what we have. Now I'll go through the pages, but I'm not going to take too much time doing so. You can hit pause on your player to read them. So here we go. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And page 6. So, we're going to go and check out some Killer Instinct. And this is a great game. A fantastic arcade fighting game. So glad they released this to the home console. My cousin and I used to play Killer Instinct 1 and 2 all the time back in '96. And in 1997, actually. Yeah. Lots of arcade gaming in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. Especially in the 90s. 90s was definitely one of my favorite decades of all time. That's for sure. The 32-bit era of gaming was one of my favorite era of gaming. My favorite era of gaming. One of my favorites. I love the 16-bit era too. Gosh, the 16-bit era and the 32-bit era were one of my favorites. And I love the 32-bit era because the 32-bit games, although 3D, they kind of remind me of like 16-bit 3D, you know? In my opinion, that's kind of how I see it. Some might say that the 32-bit era didn't age well, and I can see what they're saying. I know what they're talking about. But that doesn't matter to me. I don't mind, you know, the pixelated 3D. As far as I'm concerned, you know, it adds character to the games, that's for sure. And beauty's in the eye of the beholder, man. You know, I like 32-bit gaming. I like the graphics. I like everything about it. So anyway, let's move on to another game. We'll throw on some Rush 2 Extreme Racing. Show you that. And I'm also going to drink a little bit of my Surge here. I love the music in this game. This game's got a great soundtrack. The melody is very uplifting in this particular track here playing during the demo screen. And it's really solid. game just feels so nice. Now, if you love arcade racers, the Nintendo 64 is definitely the console to go to. You have California Speed, you have Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World, Cruisin' Exotica, San Francisco Rush, Extreme Racing, San Francisco Rush 2049, Rush 2 Extreme Racing, Ridge Racer 64, and many others, folks. And when I play games like these, especially this one here, like, for whatever reason, it makes me want to play Scud Race. That was a great arcade racer. I believe that it was made by Sega and was released in 1997 on the Model 3 hardware. Runs on the same engine as the second Daytona USA. And I'm surprised that those two games never made it to the Sega Dreamcast, because those two games were fantastic. And it can't be a licensing issue because they released Daytona USA 2001. So instead of releasing that game, which I didn't really care much for, they should have just released an arcade pack with Daytona USA, Daytona USA 2, and Scud Race. That would have been a great 3-pack right there for the Sega Dreamcast. It's a shame they didn't do that. Why they didn't do that, I don't know. But they didn't do that. And history has already been made, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But I can always dream. Anyway, why don't we move on, folks? Hit the reset button and go back into the list. I'll show you some Stunt Racer 64. Nintendo 64 also has some pretty nice future racers as well. You have this game here, Wipeout 64, F-Zero X, great future racer. And there's a couple more that I will demonstrate for you that are also future racers that are pretty awesome. Another great future racer is Scorcher on the Sega Saturn. I highly recommend that game. It's a great game. It's got really awesome graphics too. The 3D is really nice on that. They did a great job with that on the Saturn. You would definitely think that you're playing a PlayStation game when you play that one. It's got great lighting textures, frame rate smooth. You don't really notice much pop-in graphics, if any at all. And it was just done really well on the Saturn, that's for sure. So yeah. And if you guys really love future racers, and you have an original Xbox, I highly recommend that you pick up Quantum Redshift. The game's got an excellent soundtrack, the visuals are awesome, the frame rate is smooth, it plays really nice, and overall it's just a great game. So I highly recommend that you play it. But yes, this game right here, great future racer. It's got a good soundtrack, it's got really nice visuals. I love the sound effects. Play is pretty good. And very addictive. The great game on the Nintendo 64. Alright, I'm going to show you the second one. So we'll go up to Extreme G XG2. Oh yeah! So here we go. I really need to get myself a rumble pack for the controller. I like the track that plays on this one too. Some nice drum and bass. That was another electronic genre that was way better in the 90s. Drum and bass. Drum and bass in the 2000s, they simplified the beats. You know, back in the 90s, like, the drum tracks were just sick. And, like, they would, like, randomly change up the drums, too, in the track, you know. In the 2000s, they just watered it down and kind of made the genre a little generic. So if you really want to find some serious drum and bass, you want to go to the 90s. That's just my opinion, of course. You know, that's a subjective matter, subject matter. So everybody has their own opinion as to what time period has the best what. But I'm just explaining why I think drum and bass was better in the 90s. It was just far more complex. The drum beats were just you know, super complex. And, you know, the drum beats like randomly changed up. You just never knew what was coming. And it was awesome. But this here, another great future racing game. So the Super Nintendo. So the Nintendo 64 definitely has no shortage of racing games. If you like racing games, arcade racers, this is the go-to console for it. Just like the Sega Saturn is the go-to console for shoot-'em-ups. So, alright guys, this is Deadly Groove signing off. Just wanted to show you a little bit of what I have on the Everdrive 64 version 3. The Ultra Everdrive 64 version 3. And you can get those at Stone Age Gamer. Just go on the Stone Age Gamer website and pick yours up. You know, they're a little costly. They cost over $100, you know. Probably like, I think I paid like maybe like probably paid like 170 or something like that, because I also got the SD card. So, you know, it's a little bit up front, but it's well worth the investment. So it'll last me a long time. Load up all the ROMs on it, and I don't have to have like a whole bunch of cartridges you know, laying around near it. And I do have like a whole bunch of games in my collection, but these are backups. and I don't feel like taking out games anymore to play. I'd rather just have them all right there. So that's what I do. Alright, so this is Deadly Groove signing off, guys. I wish you all an awesome weekend. Happy Saturday. And I hope you all are safe. And take it easy, guys. Alright, peace.